Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Rant. It's Greg here again on the channel with Toby, and today we're going to be talking about the House of the Dragon, episode 1. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to be talking about episode 1 of the House of the Dragon. We watched this on Monday, which was the 22nd of August. It came out a day later in the UK. Yes, I have to admit, I was quite pleased with what I saw. I was, nicely surprised. I think there's probably mixed reviews about it, but
Yeah,
I think a lot of our concerns weren't too bad there. What
I
do you
think that
think, Toby?
when we went into it, there were quite a few things that had been discussed with the style and the format of the show.
Yeah.
So I think that they had indicated that they wanted to make it quite different in the sense from Game of the Thrones, but quite a few similarities with the original
Yeah.
series,
Yes.
which was great in my mind because it's the same world. So we'd had so it's little things like the theme music has changed, but they've still
Yes.
got the original Game of Thrones
Yes.
tune going through it,
Yes.
which
Yeah, I
it
thought it
was
was a nice touch.
so there was a sense that the heritage of that was there,
Hmm.
and that the atmosphere wasn't wasn't vibrant and jumpy
No.
and kind of full of sort of gender related issues. It
No.
felt very kind of moody and dark,
Yeah.
and I wasn't drawn to their necessarily to question to think about their gender or their identity. I was drawn more into the characters, and
Yes.
I was worried that they were going to be pushing agendas too much with this first episode, and I didn't think that they did. So as far as that
No.
was concerned,
No.
we had this overall sense of atmosphere,
Yeah.
something Game of Thronesy.
Yeah.
It was dark. It was political, and then there was even violence and sex and all that kind of adult entertainment, which the
Yes.
original series is
Yes.
known for, which people watch it for,
Yeah.
and that was there as well. And I was like, we got like a whole packet. And I was pleased that there was. I felt at home
Yes.
in the episode rather than
I know what
watching
you mean.
something that
It
Marvel may have
felt,
made. Or something like
yeah, for me, it felt very much like it came from the same, production, the same sort of thing. I was also pleased that they'd kept at the style of it. You could play this next to one of the other episodes of Game of Thrones, and it would hold up with it, wouldn't
that.
it? It was good.
Yeah,
The quality of the sometimes I thought maybe when they're like panning across the city a few times, I thought the city didn't
yeah,
look quite as good as it did in the original
I
series. I don't
agree.
know what they did in the original series, but it did look like there was a massive city there, and it looked
Yeah,
really good. I
the
mean, this was
CGI wasn't
good.
as good.
This was good,
Yeah,
but not as good. I'm not saying, oh, this is
yeah,
crap. Not at all. I think it was good. But because what we had before
yeah,
was like epic, there were
yeah,
just little bits like that that weren't just quite. But
yeah.
I think the
Some
thing
of
with
the
this
CGI was a
episode,
bit careless.
sometimes, yeah. But
Yeah.
I was really impressed. They really kind of tried to introduce us to this new world, because it's obviously
Mm,
a couple of hundred years before what happened in
mm-hmm,
Game of Thrones,
mm-hmm,
and it's it. Well, that's such a difficult thing to do. There's lots of characters, and
mm,
we're getting a flavor for each of the characters. I think they gave them all a
mm,
little tiny bit to do, a little bit
mm,
of introductory. We're now looking at the
mm.
House Targaryen. There wasn't a House Targaryen really in Game of Thrones. I know it was Daenerys and on her own with the brother who
Mm.
got killed, didn't he?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he did.
but it was nice to see that we've got the high towers. We've got a number of other sort of, but also some references back to the original. Some little, the Baratheons
They've
were in
thrown some.
there.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
thought that. Yeah, I was impressed. They had just looking at it as an overall storyline. I thought they had
Yes.
a very clear agenda with what they want to achieve with this first episode.
Yes. Yeah.
So there was, it felt like the story was well structured in that respect.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they they,
I
they went through a
agree.
series of events, and then
I
they
think
were quite sort of
instantly we know.
poetic and how they did it with the
Sorry.
birth. Mm. Go on.
Yeah. I was just going to say, instantly we kind of know each of their motives, don't we? Really, pretty much. The whole
We think we do at
ish.
this point.
We think we do, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it was
yeah.
very
It's
clear of
nice. It's nice to have
some.
that feeling. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, obviously, it started out, didn't it, with you saw the dragons. That was something that was different. They're
yeah.
there. They're
Mm.
very much part of this. They used them to get a. She was flying about on the dragons, even though the queen was a bit worried about her, wasn't she, out on the dragon and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we see that, and that's a good feature to have within the story. And it's very much, isn't it, about succession, on trying to determine who's going to be next on the throne. Again, Game of Thrones, isn't it?
yeah,
That's kind of what the
yeah.
whole crux of the last series was about, really. um and
Yeah, and the throne
yeah.
is much bigger, isn't it? It's got that
Yes.
throne, all the
It
swords
comes down
spread
all the
out
steps. It's got all the bits,
down the
and
stairs.
and that
Yeah,
was quite interesting as
yeah.
well, wasn't it? To see some of these sorts of
Mm.
bits, which was nice. Um,
And he gets cut
I
on it as well. He's cut his finger as well.
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
I liked performances by the people, by the actors, by the people, by the actors.
yeah, well, I
We
mean,
talked.
we could go. I mean, there's one or two I didn't like. I'll be honest with you, but we can go into that later if you want.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I thought there's some really great performances already. I was
yeah.
I was very impressed with Paddy Constantine as King Viserys. I thought he
Yes,
was
yeah.
excellent
He was good, wasn't he?
in the
Yes,
main,
yes,
as king. I mean, he had to have moments where they called him weak,
yeah,
and he kind of the actor absorbed that very respectfully in a sense. But then he was also had to be
yeah,
really strong at points where he had to shout. And I felt like
yes,
he was quite commanding in that
yeah,
role.
yeah.
He is a weak king. He doesn't have he has an okay reign, but he
Mm.
obviously is viewed as a failure because he doesn't have an heir, does he?
No, that's
So
right.
he sees that as a fault in himself as well. So he's a
Yeah.
flawed and multifaceted character, which I found really fascinating. What
Yes.
did you
Yeah, I
think about him?
agree. I agree. That was good. We're too used to seeing in a lot of these series now, but the characters are just two-dimensional, aren't they? But you could see he was
Yeah,
struggling with the fact, at the beginning they were talking about, who's going to succeed, and he's saying, well, I'm having a boy, it's going to be a boy. Obviously, he went through that trauma of losing his wife and the child. And
yeah.
then,
He had to
there's
make the decision, didn't he?
yeah, the whole council are on his back trying to say who's going to succeed you now. You've not got an heir. Who's going to see? And it sent him into a right bit of despair, didn't it? And then at the end there, when
Yeah,
Otto Hightower has kind of stuck the knife in with Damon about what he'd said at that brothel. He then had to change again, like I say, and be quite, attack his brother and even though the brother just
yeah,
kind of, it sounds like the brother wanted to be by his side, and be his hand, so
yeah,
that they could rule together, sort of thing. So
yeah.
there's a lot of good things
I
like
mean, I
that.
mean, yeah. I mean, his brother, Damon.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, I like Matt Smith, but I found that he was the weakest character in the show.
Oh, that's interesting.
And there's a number of reasons for that. A number of
Hmm.
reasons why I felt that. I wanted to explain this because I know that he's a popular character, Matt Smith, and
Yeah.
I, I really like him. I like him as Doctor Who, and I like him as some of the other things that I've seen. But I
Yeah.
think what Matt Smith doesn't have is a commanding presence. So when he was
Right.
talking to his guard,
Yes.
he sounded really kind of weak and
He,
squeaky. Now
his
there are things they
voice.
can do
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
stuff like this, So
Yeah.
yeah, his voice is that is his voice, but you can have a squeaky voice but still be commanding. And I didn't feel like he brought that across.
Yeah.
And I think if he felt like if he was truly supporting his brother, then he wouldn't have necessarily gone out and done that in the street anyway, with the, with
No.
what he did. But then he comes back and says he always supports him. So I think that there's kind of a double standard coming through in the character that
Right.
I didn't feel Matt Smith handled very well. I felt like his motives were a bit difficult to pin down, actually.
Yeah, I think they
Whether
were,
he
but
knew what he was doing.
I think he's the only character in it that I think, yeah, there's some dubious sort of what is his motive, what is. But then at the end, where he confronts his brother and they have that sort of confrontation in the throne room, I thought that was quite convincing and quite good, and I liked that. I think you're right about the bit where he's commanding his things, and it just didn't quite come across, did it? As him being, a big powerful leader. But I think there was some other really good bits where he was in it, and he was obviously trying to be supportive to his what would it be, his niece, yeah, Rhaenyra,
Yeah,
where she's lost, the bit where they have to barbecue the bodies, and he's quite supportive in that respect and shows her some
yeah, he is.
affection.
But I didn't like that either, because I felt that he was
Oh,
being
right,
creepy towards her.
right,
Almost as
right.
if he was kind of putting the necklace around her and kind of being a bit
Yes,
creepy. I
that bit
felt that.
was that bit. I felt, well,
What
the
was he saying
Targaryens
by that?
are the Targaryens kind of, they interbreed, don't they?
Incestual?
So,
Are they incestual? I mean, this is the thing. Is
but I have
Matt
a
Smith
feeling that she's got
interpreting that in a
different,
particular way?
from the
I
way
don't
they also
know.
portrayed her
She's
relationship
going to get together
with.
with that knight, isn't she?
Oh, do you
Clearly the
think?
one the knight.
Do you think?
Oh yeah. I mean, her maid fancies her,
Yes.
so there may be some
Yeah.
menage a trois at one point. But she's
Yeah.
bound to end. She's bound to have an heir. She's the mother, isn't she? That
Yeah.
breeds the next generations. So she
Yeah.
has to have a male who they're going to have babies with at some point. I assume.
Yeah.
I haven't read the book. I'm sort of more
Yeah.
intrigued to read the book, having watched the show. So I may well do that.
I
And
mean, that was something I should have said at the beginning. We both of us, we've not read the book, have we? So we don't know the way this is going to go.
no,
And in some respects, I'm
no,
quite happy not to know. I'm quite happy to sort
yeah,
of
me
see this
too.
pan out and see how they play it. I think that's you can be too hung up a lot of the time on adaptations from books to films. And
Yeah,
you don't want to destroy the foundations of what something is, but sometimes a book can't be properly adapted into a film. And so
no, different
for me,
medium.
it didn't phase me at all. So yeah, I liked the little bit of the Rhys Ifans bits where he was going up against Damon. He's clearly doesn't like him. He doesn't want him to be the king. And then of course he's pushing his daughter at the end there to go and comfort the king. And try and put your mother's dress on, sort of thing. To try and
That was weird.
it was weird. It
That was
was
very
weird,
weird.
but it doesn't surprise me, that he's trying to push
No, he
his
doesn't. I was
daughter
kind of
to
like,
become. Because at the
yeah,
end of the day, he would be thinking, right, we need another heir. Perhaps if my daughter hooks up with the king, then perhaps they can have the next generation.
it was it was the
I know
weirdest
she.
scene. It was the
It was
weirdest
a bit
scene
weird.
because she went in with the book, and he was
Yeah,
working on this really big model he'd made,
I
wasn't he?
know. Yeah, yeah.
Really stupid. And he sat next
It
to the
was.
model, and then she sat across the way with the book, and then
I
that
was
was
quite
it. That's
impressed,
all we
really.
saw. It was like, what? Yeah, it was a good
It was a
model,
bit
but
weird. It was a good model, yeah.
it was a bit weird. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, there were some odd little bits. I
Yeah.
think obviously we're going to see maybe the relevance of some of that come through.
Yes.
They're just
Yeah.
laying a few seeds, aren't they?
I think
I
I
thought
think
Millie
her
Alcott
her
as
her yeah, I think her difficulty in that scenario though was just to sort of make us aware. Obviously, she doesn't like men. She's obviously going to be. She's interested in the princess, isn't she?
we she's got a
We
crush on her.
think.
We don't
We
know
think.
the extent of what that relationship could be or it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's often the sexual politics is a bit fluid, isn't it? In Game of Thrones, it's just
Yes. Oh
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
how old J.R. Martin likes to write it. Apparently it's quite loyal to the book. This is what I've heard.
This is good. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and a lot of very vocal sort of critics. I think a couple that I've noted have come out and they've said that they quite like it.
yeah.
So I think that from that
I
respect,
enjoyed it. I
yeah,
felt I used my boredom test, as and I didn't feel bored
yeah,
through it. Do you know what I mean? I sort of
no,
think it felt like it went quite quickly, and I wanted some more.
yeah,
So for me, that was like, yeah,
yeah,
this is just to get us going. We've got to meet all these new characters. We've got to set the table ready for a lot more to happen. And yeah,
yeah,
I was pleased. The one little thing for me was it wasn't really a main sort of title sequence. I was I always loved the
yeah.
intro that they had on the original Game of
Mm,
Thrones, where you're sort of seeing the map and you're flying around and you're seeing all the
yeah.
buildings being built
The
and the
animation, yeah,
it
yeah,
was it was
beautiful.
that was really fantastic and it was just a shame because it was just a very quick sort of thing and then the dragon sort of symbol sort of coming out and I think they could have done a
I do wonder
bit
whether that
more with
cost a
that.
lot of money and whether they
I bet it
felt they couldn't
does.
justify it for this one.
Yeah,
So,
maybe it
or maybe they
does.
just couldn't get the same animator to do another one,
Yeah,
so they didn't want to
yeah. I
go with second
just
rate. I don't know. There could be many
yeah,
reasons. It
maybe.
is surprising,
Or it
but
could just
I
be another
guess
way to try and differentiate it from the original series without it. They don't want to make exactly the same again, but you know.
yeah, it
but
was interesting. Talking about the relationship between the two as well. I have seen on numerous places the producers coming out and saying that they weren't going to introduce sexual violence to the show.
yeah, yeah,
Um, that they were going to strip that out. But
yeah.
interestingly, there is a scene in this where a guy has his penis chopped off
Yes,
because he's a
yes,
rapist. And I
yeah, yeah.
thought that they were going to cut all that out. So what
Right.
that made me think, I didn't think that was great, to be honest, but I do
No.
think that maybe what we've heard about this, we just can't necessarily believe.
Yeah,
Even from
yeah.
the producers and the
I
makers,
know it was something that we were worried they were going to dilute it down, didn't we? You know,
we did.
don't get me wrong. I don't want to see a load of sexual or any of that sort of thing, but I think we
No, me
wanted an
either. But
adult show, didn't we? We wanted it to
yeah,
remain a sort of adult, stuff that we can watch, not to be worried if someone gets their head chopped off and that sort of thing. It's kind of
yeah,
that's part of this world and how it is. I mean, Westeros is a horrible. No one would want to really live there, would they? Because it's so
no,
horrible to everybody. But yeah, I agree. I think that was a little bit much, wasn't it? The old, bit where they cut the guys bits off. That wasn't
yeah.
very nice at all.
I thought it was just a bit messy and grim,
Yeah.
gross, and it's like,
But do you
oh, I
think
don't
do you
need to
think that
see
was them
that.
trying to make a statement to say, look, this is Game of Thrones still? This is, do you think they're trying to make a statement about that so that
I
it
thought
felt
that they
like,
had originally, maybe. I thought that they had originally decided not to include that sort of stuff.
right,
So
right,
different sort
yeah,
of statement than I was expecting, put it that
yeah,
way. But yeah, I thought it was adulty and dark. It didn't move too quickly as well. I think
no,
there was
no,
definitely enough character development there to sort of
yes,
make it interesting. So
yes.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how it comes on actually.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, like I say, and the good thing is it's a weekly show as well. It's going to keep people building their anticipation with it,
Yeah,
wanting
all the
to
social
to talk
media
about
going out all
it,
the time.
get it
Yeah,
what's going to happen next week and all that sort of thing. So that's good.
episodes on Geek Rant.
Yeah, exactly. No, but normally, I mean, you look at the recent months, we've had to sort of have a whole dump of a show, haven't we? And we've been trying to
We have.
review big chunks of shows, like although I really enjoyed Stranger Things,
Yeah,
it came in two lumps,
it
didn't it?
really did.
And
It
it was a
did.
lot to talk about and get, if it had been weekly, I think we could have really sort of analyzed it a bit
Yeah,
more and had a bit more time with it. But yeah, I'm pleased this has started out well. I think it's a good sign. I
yeah.
think some of the fears that we had in our trailer review aren't really there. So I think we can
It's
actually
brilliant.
sit back and enjoy a TV series. That
Yeah.
we're thinking this is going to be what we want.
Well, it's a breath of fresh air after having
Yeah.
watched She-Hulk. Bloody hell, that was terrible. As our review shows.
Of course, yeah. Jump on and see that one. That one's quite
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
But yes, no, you're right. It's certainly been a sort of yeah, I'd highly recommend this to people. I think this is
Me
a
too.
great start to the show. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode. Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us. We really enjoyed that one, and we hope you do too. If you like what we're saying, obviously, please subscribe to the channel. We'd love more subscribers. If you've got any comments, please send them over to us. We'll be happy to respond and give you our views as well. And if you can press the like button, that would be even more appreciated. We hope you enjoy the episode, and we'll see you soon.